Okay, hello friends. Today we are working on the base for our upcoming sculpture. At this point, you should have decided what pose you are using, and that's super important because the base you choose should be the best choice to display the pose you've decided on. So, for example, if you are going to make a figure that's lying down or reclining horizontal in some way, it's going to need a nice big long base. And so I will have a template available for you that is very similar to the rectangle that I'm going to show here in a few. And you should use a big base if you're going to have some sort of reclining figure that is going to be touching the base and in a long space. So that's an option. If your sculpture is going to be a standing one, this is my diver. I call her the diver. She's in a diving position, which is hard to see on the video. It would be very easy to see if she was on a lovely base like this. But because she's standing, she will look just fantastic on top of the 6-inch square base. If you make a sculpture that is sitting, which I don't have a good sample of here, then the rectangular base, I'm using this size, is the perfect choice for you. So you choose what base you need to make. You only need to make one base to suit your sculpture. So I'm going to talk you through how to make the square one, and then I will walk you through making the rectangle. So let me grab my work that I did ahead of time for you. So you're going to use your template. We're using a template to make things easier. That's the only reason we're using a template. So we're going to trace the template twice. That gives us the top and the bottom. Now, this is a 6-inch long template. I know because I measured it. And I need 4 sides that are the same length for each side of my box, right? My base. It's a box, but we're using the box as a base. So that's pretty easy. 4 that are 6 inches long and 2.5 inches tall. So I'm going to grab my ruler, right? And I will measure up 2.5 inches and mark it all the way across, little dots, connect my lines, and then I will measure across 6 inches. Now I was able to get 3 sides out of the bottom, and I had some waste here on the end. I always like to kind of mark out my waste so I don't accidentally think I need it. And then I added 1 more, giving me 4 sides to build my box. We will talk about these lines as I build the rectangle. So I've got some blank material here, and we are going to go through this together. So I'm going to use this edge of my material, and if your material happens to be cut here in the studio, then you want to use your factory cut edge, okay? It's going to be a straighter line than whatever I can get with the big chopper in the back. So I'm going to put pressure on my template and just run my pen along that. Now I'm using a pen so you can see it, but as always, we design in the studio with pencil so that when we make mistakes, it's easily erased. I'm taking some big risks for you guys. So I'm just drawing a second one, giving me a top and a bottom. Now I'm demonstrating this one because it's a little harder than the square. Okay, so I'm going to label 1 bottom and 1 top because we do something slightly different to the top than we do the bottom. Now at this point, I need to do my sides. So when I measure this, which you don't have to, you can just take my word for it, this is almost 7.5 inches. 7.5 will work. So we're going to make 2 sides that are 7.5 inches, and then the other side here is 4.5 inches. And so we're going to make 2 sides that are 4.5 inches, but they're all going to be 2.5 inches tall. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get my 2.5 inches across. And so, oh my goodness, everything's falling. That's okay. I'm filming in the evening and it's warm in the studio, so I've got a fan going and blowing things over. So I'm lining my ruler up at the bottom and I am making a small mark, not a huge mark, at 2.5 inches. Now, I just made a mistake, a rookie mistake. I measured from the end of the ruler instead of the 0. So now if I had a pencil, I could erase that, but now I don't. So I'm going to have to just X that out. So I'm going to slide over and I'm going to mark 2.5 inches again. And I'm going to slide over. I'm going to mark 2.5 inches again. The half mark is the long one. And one more slide, one more mark. Line up my ruler, make sure it's nice and straight. 2.5. Now I'm going to turn my ruler. I'm going to line up all my dots that I made. Your ruler is probably not going to go all the way across depending on how big your material is. That's okay. Get as far as you can. Then slide your ruler over. And it's best to slide your ruler over to the edge of the material. That way you know it's still straight, and then finish that line. Now I'm going to go up 2.5 inches again because I can't get everything I need for the sides out of one of them. So now I'm going to do it again. Going to go up 2.5 inches, make a mark, slide over 2.5 inches, make a mark, slide over. This is really the only way to get a definitely straight line, and you don't want to mess this up or you won't have a box. You'll have something else. Frustration. That's what you'll have when things don't go together. So I'm going to line up all my dots, and I'm going to drag my pen across the top of my ruler, my pencil. For you, it's a pencil. I'm going to line my ruler up with the end of my material in my line so I know I finish it off nice and straight. And bam. All right. So now I have 2.5 inches and 2.5 inches. And so my long side of my rectangle is 7.5 inches, approximately. So I'm going to line it up with the 0, not the end of the ruler, and I'm going to go to 7.5 inches, and I'm going to make a mark. And then to make sure that things are straight, so I actually end up with a box, I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to line up my 0 with the edge of the material, and I'm going to mark up here too. And that gives me 2 dots to connect, so I know I have a straight line. So that's 1. I need a second 7.5 inch strip. I'm going to repeat that. So I'm going to line it up. And it's okay to use the same line. You won't lose any material when you're cutting. So I'm going to that long line in between the 7 and 8 for 7.5. And then I'm doing that again up top. And I'm connecting my dots. Perfect. Okay, so this is 7.5 and this is 7.5. And then I need the sides, right? And my sides on this, if I measure it, are 4.5. Yep, 4.5. So I'm now going to use my ruler again, and I'm going to find 4.5. That's that long line in between the 4 and 5. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to go up top, make sure I get good marks, good measurements, nice straight lines. I'm going to double check that bottom one. Yep, it's right. Line those up with my ruler and drag my pen against it. All right, I've got 1. I need 1 more. Learning how to measure accurately, you'll find is super helpful in your life. Trying to hang curtains when you can't measure. Hang a curtain rod. Oh, I went to 4 inches. Darn it. I wish I had a pencil. I need to go to 4.5 inches. All right. down here to 4.5 inches. When you make mistakes, don't get mad at yourself. Just fix it and move on. There's no point in punishing yourself for making mistakes. It's like a good reminder that you're human. And humans are beautiful. All right, so we've got 4.5 and 4.5. Now, a little bit more measuring. We have to find the center of the top and the bottom. So it's easy, really simple division. Anytime you want to find the center of things, you divide it in half and you draw a line. And where the lines intersect, that's your center. So here we have 7.5. Now if we divide 7.5, that comes out to 3 3/4. So I need to measure out 3 3/4. Now 3/4 will be this third line. It's not as long as the half line. It's this line. It's this long line before the 4. That's your 3/4 mark. So I'm gonna measure from the edge using my 0, and I'm gonna mark 4 3/4. I'm gonna mark that. I'm also gonna come up here and I'm gonna measure 4 3/4. Perfect. Uh-oh. Darn it. Guys, I messed it up. It's not 4 3/4, it's 3 3/4. So that's wrong and that's wrong. I'm on it today. Let's do that again. Okay, it is 3 3/4. I'm like, that doesn't look like half. 3 3/4. I'm gonna make sure I get good measurements because I'm actually building this box. 3 3/4 is there. 3 3/4 is there. Flip my ruler, connect my dots. I have found the vertical center line. Now I have to find the horizontal center line. So half of 4.5, which is this, is 2 1/4 in measurements. 2 1/4. So I need to measure here from the 0 on my line down to 2, and then the first line here, the first long line, not the short ones. So there, 2 1/4. I'm going to come over here. Can't see it, it's clear. Line my 0 up, 2 1/4, bam. And then I am going to connect my dots. I have my center. Now I'm going to take my rectangle template and I'm going to place it over my center. I'm going to center it up. And I'm going to draw a rectangle around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it as close to center as you can get it. Okay, that's where our wire is coming out of the top. Now we need to do the same thing again over here to figure out where we should plant our wire so it's in the center. So let's see if I can do this without messing it up this time. And my ruler's running into my mic. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna go from the edge, 3 3/4. Bam. From the edge, 3 3/4. Bam. Line those dudes up. Pull a line. Now half of 4.5 is 2 1/4. Just so you know, I'm not a mathematician. I sat down and thought about this before the video. So don't think I'm super smart. So we're going to measure down from the 0, 2 1/4. 1/4 is that first long line after the 2. Do it again. First long line after the 2. Bam. And then we're going to connect our dots. You're going to be so good at making straight lines after this. Super good. And there's the bottom. That's where I'm going to glue my wire. Just like in this one. See? It's coming right out of the center. All right. I'm going to cut this up, and in the next video, I'm going to show you how to make it.